Whoop. Surely I wasn't the only one who despised school, right? It felt like I was trapped in a bizarre, never-ending reality show where the plot was a chaotic mess and the contestants were all these awkward, fumbling teens, and the judges were adults who seemed determined to make you question the very fabric of existence. Most of the stuff you learn is just memorizing facts and spewing them back, most of which you'll never use in your day-to-day life, unless you're going into a specialized field. It'd be better if we were geared more towards practical knowledge, like how to change a light bulb safely, pay your taxes, and budget, daily necessities for when you get your own place. Fair enough to say parents should teach that, but that doesn't always happen. Many times it's like the blind leading the blind. You just have to fumble your way through and hope you get it right, rather than being pushed towards A-levels. The next thing was school uniform. I actually liked this one. I wasn't a fashionista, so it was helpful, but they were very strict with it, to the point where they'd pull people out of lessons and amend it, or give them a detention. Like, what the heck? As long as they're not showing their hoo-ha, who cares? We're all here to learn, and that's all. I actually didn't like days where I had to wear my own clothes, because I was worried I'd be judged for what I was wearing. Kids can be mean. And don't get me started on the constant uniform inspections. They'd check your skirt if it was a centimetre too short, or if your shoes weren't polished enough. It felt like being a soldier in some weird fashion army rather than a student. Some kids couldn't even afford new uniforms, so they'd get scolded for looking scruffy. Imagine getting penalised for being poor. It was ridiculous. And the next thing was my hair. Okay, it wasn't anything amazing. It's just really blonde and long throughout my life. Mostly people would say how lovely my hair was, but it was weird because I didn't like people in my personal space. Once a girl just started touching my hair because I had it down for once. It wasn't so frizzy that day. And I was like, can you please just stop? I turned around and she was at it again. So I decided to get behind her and pull her hair. She was told multiple times, and I'd had enough. She acted like I was the crazy one. But hasn't she ever heard of personal space? And then there was the teachers. Some of them would randomly comment on my hair, which always felt awkward. Oh, you've got such nice blonde hair. You should keep it like this more often. Like, why does my hair even matter? Just let me exist without making it a thing. Next was the school bus. The school bus was a nightmare, so most of the time I just caught the public buses to and from school. But when I did have to take the school bus, it was just horrible. The older kids would bully the younger ones, the seats were gross and sticky, and there was always that one kid blasting music through their tiny phone speakers. And of course the driver didn't care as long as no one died. Once I saw a fight break out over a seat, and I just sat there praying I'd disappear. But public buses weren't perfect either. At least there was some sense of order though. One time I was on the school bus because I needed to get home quickly for whatever reason, and I was sitting at the top, and my hair was a bit frizzy because I had it down the whole day. Curly hair plus humidity equals frizzy poof. This head came behind me with a lighter and was showing off to his friends about how close he could get to me with the flame. Great. I turned around and gave him the stink eye and went downstairs. Didn't want to go up like a candle just yet. Luckily I avoided becoming a human torch. Imagine if the bus went over a big bump at the wrong time. That could have gone so wrong. I was always the will you draw this for me kid, and I hated it. I know, it's not that bad once, right? But when everyone asks, it's like, no, draw your damn own. I also wasn't too sure of myself and my art yet. I was still in the throes of developing my art style. What made it worse was when teachers joined in. They'd ask me to do posters or random projects for them, and it felt less like a compliment and more like free labour. If I was to say no, I'd probably get a guilt trip about not using my talent. Like, can I just focus on my own work, please? Goodbye. Being a socially anxious, quiet kid, I never really had a real group of friends. I kind of just floated around in between groups, aka being a loner. I always went up to the art classroom for my lunch under the pretense of doing coursework, which I did do, but it was really so I didn't have to wander around after eating my lunch and get asked if I was okay a bunch of times, or just follow one of my kind of friends around like a lost puppy. I hated it. Usually, if the art room wasn't open, I'd just go to the library. It was better than the alternative. The loneliness wasn't just during lunch. Group projects were the worst. Nobody wanted to pair it with me, and when they did, I'd usually get stuck doing most of the work because I was too shy to speak up. Teachers never noticed or cared, they just assumed I was quiet because I was focused. Some of the teachers I had weren't very nice. I can remember I had an English teacher, and I don't know if she was going through menopause or something, but she must have had a stick so far up her ass, because when I had her, my grades in English dropped so much. She created a condescending and uncomfortable learning environment. The next year I got the loveliest English teacher ever, and my grades went back up. It just shows that the demeanour of the teacher really matters. One of my geography teachers, on the other hand, was a nice guy, but I don't know what it was about his voice. I just drowned it out. I started to get E's and F's. Honestly, he was doing a good job, but the way he said things just went in one ear and out the other. I had to study so much in geography because of that, but I managed to scrape by with an A in the end. And then there was the PE teacher, who treated every class like a boot camp. If you weren't naturally athletic, you were basically invisible. Or worse, they'd single you out to motivate you. Dreaded PE days. Woo. In junior school, I was helping to pack up an art lesson. There was a newspaper on the table with lots of paint on it. I wasn't sure whether it needed throwing away or not, so I folded it up into a pile and walked over to the bin and supply cupboard where the teacher's aide was standing. She knew I was shy, so I kind of just gestured towards the bin, and she didn't stop me, so I confidently threw it in. And then she decided to be an absolute arsehole to an 8-year-old and show me up in a classroom full of people by shouting at me and making me reach my arms all the way into the bottom of this mucky bin to retrieve the used newspapers. Jesus Christ, she was a bitch. I didn't like her in the slightest. She could have been nice about it and, stopped me, but no, showing up a socially anxious, shy girl fueled her ego. No wonder I didn't like putting my hand up and participating, because whenever I tried, something similar to this would happen. This wasn't the only time an adult humiliated me for no reason. It's like some of them got a kick out of making kids feel small. If you're wondering why so many of us hate school, maybe start with the adults who made it hell. In a nutshell, school was a struggle, a mix of pointless lessons and rules that felt like they were designed to break you down. From memorizing facts that you'll never need to real life struggles like trying to fit in with groups of friends. It was tough. The uniform rules were strict, but not even the teachers seemed to get it. Commenting on your appearance or making you feel bad for not fitting the mold. Adding the social anxiety of not having a solid group and being the go-to art kid for everyone's requests. And school quickly became more about surviving than learning. The worst part, the teachers. Some were great, but others created uncomfortable, condescending environments, making it feel like you were just a number to them. Public transport, especially the school bus, was a nightmare too, with bullying and chaos everywhere. In the end, it wasn't just the lessons that made me hate school. It was the adults and the systems that turned what should have been a time of growth into a battle. If you've had fun diving into my quirky mind or just enjoy a good story, head over to stacyalou.com. I've got a treasure trove of stickers, bookmarks, and other delightful oddities waiting for you. You could even snag a custom portrait made just for you. Oh, and don't forget to check out my children's book, Super Poppy, where a guinea pig embarks on a wild baked bean adventure. Because, why not? If this gave you a little chuckle, hit that thumbs up, share it with your pals, and be sure to subscribe for more bizarre fun tales. Before you dash off, I need to hear about your school nightmares. What were the most bizarre, face-palming, why am I even here moments in your education? Did you ever have a teacher who treated you like a ghost, or a rule that made you question if the world had gone completely bonkers? Let's swap stories and vent about the weirdest school experiences that we've survived. See you!